On today's show, it's NBA Draft Day. Who are the most interesting teams you should keep your eye on in the draft tonight? Plus, the Wizards and Pelicans shake things up by swapping their guards in a big trade. Did the Pelicans just find their number 2 for Zion Williamson? All of that and more coming up next.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
All right, welcome to Locked On NBA. Wes Goldberg here with Tony East. However, you might be tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. We've got a jam-packed show for you today on a Wednesday morning. The Wizards and Pelicans made a big trade. Jordan Poole now in New Orleans. What does this mean for the Pelicans going forward? What are the Wizards up to? Plus, we got a segment of buy or sell coming up in a second. But let's start with the NBA draft. The draft tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Cooper Flag going number 1 to the Dallas Mavericks. Feel pretty comfortable reporting that one, Tony. But this is a fascinating top of the draft. There's been a ton of movement. What's going on with Ace Bailey? Why does everybody want Con Nipple? All these guys going, trying to figure out where these guys are going. It sounds like we could even get trades before the draft, during the draft. There's a ton of interesting stuff here. So I thought we could take a look at the teams involved here and ask who are the most interesting teams in the draft. So when I ask that question, what's the number 1 team that comes to mind?
Ironically, the champs. Wes, you know how many free agents the Thunder have? None. All 15 of their players are under contract for next year, too.
Well, they have 2 of them have team options, right?
They do, but they're good, useful players. Their team options are Jalen Williams, the less good backup center.
Yep.
AJ Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yep. So they will either have 13, 14, or 15 players under contract. And I can't imagine that they would want to get rid of those guys. And yet they have 2 picks in the first round.
One right outside the lottery, as you know well, because it's from the Heat. Huh? What are they going to do about this? There's been some reporting, I believe, from Jonathan Givony and ESPN that they would like to trade up with those picks. If you consolidate up for one player, it's easier to have one guy come in and maybe like Ousmane Dieng, see you later, I guess. Like he's probably their least important player on the roster. But it's so interesting to me in these kind of situations, and I have another team similar to this that I'll talk about later, where you are interesting by force, like because you have to do something. You can't do this. This is the one. The Thunder have a championship team. They don't have to apologize for their team building, but they have too much stuff, and this is going to be a problem for them every year until, I don't know, we're dead maybe. I mean, they just have so many picks. So how they handle this will be fascinating to me, and they are an essential lock to me to trade one or both of their first rounders, which makes them so fascinating come tonight.
I'm glad you mentioned them, and it's an interesting place to start. They have to do something. That's why they're probably most interesting. They have to do something. Now, maybe they just take 2 players, and that means, my God, Jalen Williams is gone, who just gave this riveting speech at the championship parade. Oh my God, AJ Mitchell, who I quite like, I guess he's gone.
Good player.
But or you know, maybe they trade somebody else. Maybe they find somebody else on the roster and say we don't really need this guy. Maybe they make some money saving move in order to facilitate the 15th to 24th pick. My guess is that they trade out and they just say, okay, instead of this thing that we kind of have to hot potato away, maybe we don't get the 15th pick in a future draft, but we don't have to make this decision right now coming off of a championship. And we still maintain an asset. So even if it's, we'll trade the 15th pick and the 24th pick for a future first rounder or something with very loose protections or whatever it might be. And that way we at least maintain the asset and instead of having to make a tough decision that we don't frankly want to make right now. That's my guess. There are teams that are rumored to want to get into the first round. Sacramento, Houston, even after trading the number 10 pick in the Kevin Durant deal, there's reports that they might want to get back into the first round. So those are 2 teams that are worth monitoring in terms of, maybe they could try to trade back in.
Totally agree. Like, again, Ousmane Dieng's they're only like, I guess this guy could wiggle free kind of guy. Who knows what they want to do with Topic, who they picked in the lottery last year.
Unbelievable.
But again, they're so rock solid. They're fascinating. I don't think anyone thought they would be first. So give everybody what they want. Give them a lottery team.
Can I give you my favorite Thunder outcome here?
I love it,
Craziest one. You trade Ousmane Dieng 15 and 24 to move up.
I love that.
And get into like the lottery.
That would get them to what, like
or something.
10, 11, 12 range. Yeah, Phoenix could use
another
extra
player.
Dieng. I don't know, something like that.
Screw it. They just go get a guy that they like, and they're just
The
like,
Bulls,
we just got another awesome
Bulls
guy.
would do that.
Any team that wants 2 first-round picks instead of 1.
That's too logical.
It makes sense. I kind of like it for Phoenix.
I also like it for Phoenix.
That's another team. All right, I'll go next. I got the Jazz at 5. I
love it.
I don't know what they're gonna do here. So obviously they would have loved to be in the Cooper Flag or Dylan Harper conversation, but they didn't after they dropped 4 spots in the lottery. They could be in the Ace Bailey situation now because Philadelphia's sitting at 3. There's some Ace Bailey canceled his workout with the Sixers. He's canceling workouts all over the place. The reporting makes it sound like Charlotte is pretty locked in VJ Edgecombe. Now, he might not be there if Philadelphia ends up taking him. Who knows? Con Newpel is rising up draft boards here and just feels like an easy fit in all of these places. I don't know who Utah wants. I don't know what they do, but they're a team that could go in so many different directions. You've heard Jeremiah Fears connected with them, Trey Johnson connected with them, whatever it might be. Do they go big upside swing? Do they just settle for best player? Not settle, but do they just kind of take the best player available and not overthink it? If it is Ace Bailey, having Ace Bailey in Utah seems pretty interesting. I just think that it's a really important pivot point in the draft. And let's remember, even though Danny Ainge isn't as hands-on as he used to be after kind of moving operations down to his son, it's still in the Ainge family. And if there's the Ainge way of doing things in Utah, they're also live to move up, down, or out, or whatever, all around the board.
Yeah, they're fascinating to me as well. They have Sexton, they have Keontae George, like they have ball handlers, but it seems like most of the best guys, unless Ace Bailey's there, or at least best considered guys, beyond my own opinion, will be ball handlers, right? Like, how do they want to manage their own resources of draft equity as well? If they love a guy, take him. I'm not saying that or anything, but it's just very. Oh, Collier, they picked Collier late last year too. He's good. Like, they're just in a funky spot of like they're not good enough to care about fit, but also they kind of have to because of their past picks. So they're a fascinating team to me as well. I think they would love it if they could get an Ace Bailey type at their pick. There's a lot of guys I like beyond the point guards early in this one. But yes, they are also fascinating to me. We're going way too slow, Wes. We're too.
Yeah. I was just like, who do you got? Give me another one.
Philly, like everybody, I will say, is so interesting. They're obviously at 3, but I think we'll learn a lot about what they think of where they are as a team. Do they really believe in the Joel Embiid era? If so, they'll probably be willing to move back and get a veteran along the way. If they pick at 3, that doesn't necessarily mean they're not in on the Joel Embiid era. But if you have Jared McCain, Tyrese Maxey, whoever you pick at 3, whatever other things you can do, sure seems like that'd be a team, even with Paul George and Embiid, that would be looking more towards future years to me.
I think has to be what they do here, right? Like you might look at number 3 and say the way they approached the draft the last few years, even with Jared McCain, it's okay. McCain can space the floor next to Joel Embiid. McCain can help spread the floor next to Paul George. I don't think that you even think about Paul George or Joel Embiid right now if you're the Sixers. I think at number 3, you ask, who's the guy who fits with Jared McCain and Tyrese Maxey going forward? Which is why I think, like, does that that guy out of Duke, Malawach, like, is he sneaky a guy that could be in play there at number 3? 3 seems too high, but like to your point, does Philly move down and just go get their center of the future? Do they do something crazy like that? Considering that, okay, if you're thinking about guys who fit next to McCain and Maxey, obviously you can go get a wing, whether that's Ace Bailey or whoever, but you could also go with a big. And you never know what Daryl Morey and that group is going to do. That's a good one. My last one here that I guess I'll bring up is Atlanta. The Hawks have, like OKC, 2 picks in the first round, 13 and 22. They are a team that, again, the new general manager and stuff, a new front office, we don't really know what they're going to do, but it's an organization that has moved around the draft in the past, and there is some reports that they are willing to try to move up. I just don't know who it is that they're targeting, right? Because you need a very specific player next to Trae Young, and unless they're willing to move off of Trae Young, who is sort of the 3-and-D or big man type guy that they're looking to go get. But I think they're definitely alive to potentially move up in the draft.
Yeah, I agree. They're in an interesting spot because they could be awesome next year, right? With Jalen Johnson in the mix too. So what do they want out of their young guys? What value do they want? Are they looking for vets and trades? If you ask me to do 2 more, I will not go very long on these. One would be the Brooklyn Nets because they are a total blank slate, but without like a super high pick, right? Obviously, their own pick is pretty high up in this one. They have a lot of other picks, 19, 26, and 27. That seems like a team right to at least move around. And Toronto, just because I'm kind of like, what are the Raptors? What do they hope to do? There's a lot of reporting that they like Malawach. They have Jakob Poeltl. I just don't really get what the Raptors are up to. That doesn't mean that they're going to do something dumb, but I'll be curious.
There's also some reporting that San Antonio could try to move up from 14. They obviously have the number 2 pick. Do they try to move up in 14 and do something similar to what OKC did the year that they took Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams? They also took Ousmane Dieng in that draft and just be like, okay, these are the guys we like. Let's make sure that at the back end of this lottery, we can move up, grab the guy we like. We've got our superstar in Victor Wembanyama. We like, obviously, guys like Stephon Castle. We have De'Aaron Fox, things like that. But do they try to move around in the draft, at least from 14? They're probably going to just take Dylan Harper at number 2. But do they move up from 14 and try to go grab the other guy that they might like? Another team to watch there with has a ton of assets that they can use to move up and around. All right, that'll do it for the NBA draft. Make sure you are tuned into the NBA Draft Big Board show hosted by Rafael Barlow for any more draft prep, last-minute draft prep that you need. And, of course, Locked On NBA and Locked On NBA Big Board for our reactions to the NBA draft. But coming up, we got a big trade in the NBA. Pelicans-Wizards, what's going on? We'll talk about that next here on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe for a plumber or a service provider. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. You moved on. That's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or your computer. Open Phone lets you manage business calls and texts from a single app. The shared inbox feature is a game changer. Your team can jump into any conversation instantly without missing a beat, and their AI agent handles after-hour calls, answers common questions, and captures leads so you never miss a customer. OpenPhone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OpenPhone, OpenPhone.com/LockedOnNBA. If you have an existing number with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen of the day. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. Let's talk about the big trade that went down in the NBA on Tuesday afternoon. The New Orleans Pelicans trading CJ McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, and a future second-round pick to the Wizards for Jordan Poole, Saddiq Bey, and the number 40 pick tonight. Tony, what was your first reaction when you saw the deal?
The direction of both teams becoming a little bit more clear, right? With a move like this, I think certainly is very revealing. Not that anyone alive thought the Wizards would be going for it, but they definitely get worse doing this. Like, Poole's the best player involved in this trade, and it clearly helps them with salary stuff, right? Because Poole's deal runs for 2 more years. McCollum's only 1 more. That's a nice win for a team that's already got other free agents like Marcus Smart, like Chris Middleton, and others coming off the books after this year. The Wizards might be next year's Nets, where it's like, oh, they have a crazy high pick and a gajillion dollars of cap space to help all these teams facilitate trades. Very clearly a long-term focus move from them. The Pelicans are kind of running in place. People, I don't know if you wondered this, but I've heard people wonder what direction they would go, if they would ever strip it down and try to rebuild, or if they're going to go for it. I think getting Poole suggests that they'll try with their limited resources available to be as competitive as possible with the kind of limited wiggle room they have to move around. And Poole's good. Like, Poole will be their lead guard, especially with DeJounte Murray hurt. And Saddiq Bey was like a useful player who wanted a lot of money before he tore his ACL 2 years ago with the Hawks. So I think this makes sense for both teams and is very, again, directionally revealing in a way that I think is very telling before the draft.
I like it fine for the Pelicans. It's not a huge commitment to Jordan Poole anymore, who's just got 2 more years left on the deal.
2 years. Yeah.
So if it's like, all right, it's not like you're taking on Jordan Poole at the beginning of that contract that after signing it for Golden State. So if it doesn't really work out with Poole and Zion Williamson and all these, it's like, all right, whatever. We could probably just do this same kind of trade next year, right? When Jordan Poole isn't expiring. For the Wizards, I kind of like it and I kind of hate it. Like, this is what you got for Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole is the guy that you traded Bradley Beal for in a roundabout way. So you go from Bradley Beal.
They got a first. They got a first with Poole.
They did get a first with Poole, and at the same time, they did get off of Bradley Beal, which is probably the prize in and of itself. So the fact that you just basically eventually turned Bradley Beal into cap space, where it felt like you probably could have just done this if you just had gotten and kept Chris Paul. I don't know, but they're obviously they are now expected to have about $100 million in cap space in 2026 if they don't make any other more moves. Now, I don't know that there's a star free agent out there looking to be like, can't wait to play with Bub Carrington, but they could, to me, they're setting themselves up to do something similar to what Houston did a couple years ago, where they went out and grabbed Fred VanVleet, and they went out and grabbed Steven Adams, and they go out and grab Dylan Brooks, and they say, okay, we got our young guys that we feel pretty good about. The Wizards have a high pick in this draft too. Like, all right, we got a bunch of young players we feel good about. Let's start to bolster the roster, kind of surround them with veterans who can kind of guide the way, and then we can kind of make our move in the Eastern Conference. That feels more to me of what they're trying to set up here. You get off the Jordan Poole money. They got off of Kyle Kuzma, so you got off the influencer brothers pretty within a couple months of each other. And now you get to be a serious basketball team. So I think I like it for the Wizards, but it also feels like that's all you got.
Yeah, and it's funny to like it's all you got because Poole's not very good 2 years ago, but he was good last year. Like he was actually a useful winning player, right? So that's why it does feel a little weird to be like, oh, you get cap relief in the 40th pick. Cool. Let's not discount traded for a first-round pick 2 years ago, Kelly Olynyk, by the way. The Raptors gave up real stuff for Kelly Olynyk from the Jazz 2 years ago. He's not a bad player. The other part of this for the Wizards that I'm always using conjecture on this because I don't know these guys because they've never played for the Pacers. But by all accounts, CJ McCollum is an A+++ locker room dude. And so for a young team trying to just like learn the NBA, that will be of some value if he sticks there. You just never know with the Wizards if these guys will be flipped or not. I've never heard a bad thing about Kelly Olynyk as a person.
And Chris Middleton in there who opted into the final year of his contract. So maybe they already have those Fred VanVleet guys.
Yeah. So they've got some off-court pizzazz going, I think, for them and their young guys and whoever they draft that will be good leaders for them. Like you cover the Heat for forever. Like over time, when you cover all these guys, you hear guys say like, oh, that guy was my vet, right? Like it matters to them who they interact with them. They're a young player. Yeah, I'll be very curious how good the Pels are now too, right? Because when Murray got hurt, they needed someone who could be this kind of player, and CJ would occasionally give him 45, and that was great, but he was always very frustratingly like close but not quite good enough, and Poole's better than him, right? So I'll be curious if that's enough for them to feel competitive. Like obviously Zion staying healthy is the number one thing there, but they're certainly better again, and Sadiq Bey is like a wing. Wings are valuable. That's good job.
Little fun fact here, Jordan Poole, one of his favorite player idols was CJ McCollum, one of the guys he modeled his game after earlier in his career. Yeah, I remember talking to Jordan Poole about that his rookie year. Kelly Olynyk has played for 7 NBA teams. Do you think you can name them?
Oh, okay. Boston, Toronto, Utah, now Washington, New Orleans.
Oh, so 8. I didn't include Washington.
Oh, you didn't include New Orleans. Okay. Am I missing 2?
Yeah. The one
Detroit,
right after Boston.
Did he play for Detroit?
He played for Detroit, so you're missing one more.
Dang, I can't remember.
Did you say Houston
Miami?
already?
Miami, the Heat.
And Miami. Yep. That's pretty good.
Wow, I actually can't believe that. I was at James Johnson's media availability at the finals when someone asked him to name every team he played for in chronological order in his career. So apparently I'm just used to
Could he do it?
He did it. He got it exactly right, yes.
Wow, that's awesome. Detroit was the sneaky one there, I thought.
That was I don't remember why I remember Kelly Olynyk with the Pistons, but I do.
Iconic. The Pelicans obviously also wanted Jordan Poole. I think it's a good fit for them. I do. I think I like it fine. With no
they gave up nothing
Murray,
and got better.
More,
right?
What's that?
They gave up nothing and got better. Like nothing.
They gave up nothing and got better, and they still have 2 picks in this draft before 40. So it's not like they gave up a valuable pick for them either. So they're still going to add some guys here. Feels like the Pelicans can maybe make some more moves here. Jordan Poole with Zion Williamson. I think that's fine. I kind of like. I think the Jordan Poole plus DeJounte Murray thing makes intuitive sense, but so did Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, and that didn't work.
Yeah.
So I don't know that this is a long-term play for New Orleans either. I don't really know what the end game for Jordan Poole is here, but you already made the I think the most important point here. It's DeJounte Murray is going to be out with his Achilles probably for the year. So we just needed a guy who had some off-ball juice or on-the-ball juice to do stuff, and Jordan Poole can certainly do that.
This is a very rare, like, good players involved win-win challenge trade that I'm like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense, even though it's like 2 good players at the same position, 2 other picks. Like it all feels like swapping the deck chairs, and yet at the end, everyone's like, yeah, this makes sense for everyone. It's very rare that those trades can come together in the NBA these days, especially in the current cap environment.
Still don't know how I feel about it for New Orleans. Because they could have just had the cap space that CJ McCollum came with, right?
Yes, that's true, but to get what? Like, they can't afford a Jordan Poole level player with that. I don't know. Maybe you're right. They're going to be that team next year that, like, everyone will be like, every fan's going to be like, my favorite team lost to the Pelicans. That's so annoying. And it's like Poole had 30 and Zion had 35, and you had, like, no chance.
Just make sure that he doesn't get in Trey Murphy or Herb Jones's way, and we're fine. All right, coming up, we have a segment of buy or sell. The Celtics already made one big trade this offseason. They're going to make another. We'll talk about who's on the outs in Boston next here on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Wayfair. There's nothing like stepping into your own outdoor space and feeling like you've escaped to a personal oasis. If you're wanting to update your patio this season, Wayfair has made it so easy to turn it into a space that feels like yours, comfortable, stylish, and ready for summer. Wayfair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space: conversation sets, outdoor bars, fire pits, hot tubs, gazebos, and yes, even the perfect string lights to set the vibe. It's like giving your backyard that resort feel without the resort price tag. I've used Wayfair recently. We recently moved into a new place, needed a bigger couch for the living room, so we browsed the options on Wayfair, found the perfect fit. Best of all, delivery was free, fast, and totally hassle-free. Don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair and enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop huge outdoor selections. That's Wayfair, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. It's buy or sell here on Locked On NBA. The Celtics traded Drew Holiday on Monday night, but they still have other moves to make. They are reportedly shopping Kristaps Porzingis. Tony, buy or sell Porzingis as a trade target for somebody else?
Yeah, it's weird. Like, he just had the worst possible season. Everyone's like, what is this sickness? What's going on? But 2 years ago, everybody was like, hey, the reason the Celtics are so awesome is Porzingis just kind of makes everything click and move on both ends of the floor. He's very good at his best. And there's lots of teams that are like, we kind of need a center. We'd consider it. And Porzingis is that perfect kind of guy for them. I don't know how the Phoenix Suns could do it, but God almighty, could the Phoenix Suns use Kristaps Porzingis? So there's enough teams that I think need someone of his skill set. And Brad Stevens is the guy making the trade, and he's just whip smart with all this stuff, that I buy that there will be someone interested in Porzingis and that a trade could happen, given that I believe both The Athletic and Jake Fisher have reported that's a possibility.
I mean, I'm buying it because it just feels like something has to get done. Mark Stein did also report that executives around the league thought that Porzingis would be the first one to move before Drew Holiday because he's an expiring contract, and those just tend to be a little bit easier. Porzingis is a tough fit, though. Even on an expiring contract, he's making $30 million, so you're going to have to give up something, right? It's not like a $12 million expiring contract where you're like, wow, we could probably just fit this in and take a swing on this guy. It's like you're probably going to have to give up something you like just to match the salaries, and then you enter that whole thing with Boston where you actually have to take on more money because they're looking to get off of money here. And I don't know how many teams are in realistic position to do that. So you start being like, oh, Porzingis, he was super helpful last year, won a championship with Boston, big name, really helpful when he's on the court. Obviously, there's going to be a taker. And then you kind of start going through the teams, and you're like, not really them. They don't make a ton of sense. I don't even know if I like the fit in Phoenix, because if Porzingis is your $30 million center, and he's not on the court, this is a guy who basically played 60 games in each of the last 2 years. It's like, okay, I guess we're just back to Nick Richards for half the season.
My other one that I like that is actually reasonable with salaries they could trade away is the Detroit Pistons.
Ooh, I kind of like that one.
Yes.
I mean, you have...
Duran's good, but like they need shooting at that spot in a way that he did not provide them, and you could keep Duran too. I like it.
It's one of those ones, though. It's like, are we trading Isaiah Stewart for Porzingis?
Yeah, they have a lot of those mid salaries, especially in like a 3-team trade that could make them fit in Porzingis and either the Celtics not take back money or they reroute like somewhere else.
Jaden Ivey, Simone Fontecchio combo? Like,
I don't know if Ivy would be traded for this, but
right, exactly. But you need like one of those salaries to be in there.
It is tough.
So I'm buying it just because I think Boston have to figure this out.
Agreed.
What do they have to attach to it? They just got didn't they just get like a second round,
2 seconds
round picks from maybe they attach that.
Yeah, that would be, if they can use the 2 seconds they got for Giroux and get off both those guys and get Simons plus that Brad Stevens, man, he's good at this stuff.
Buy or sell, according to Dan Wojcicki, Luka Doncic is, quote, incredibly committed to his conditioning this offseason, end quote. Are you buying or selling? Luka, incredibly committed to his conditioning.
Dude, I buy it just because I thought that we talked about this when he got traded. Like, if I get traded from somewhere, I definitely did not want to get traded from. And on the way out, they're like, yeah, we think you're lazy and fat and out of shape. The second I get to my new place, I'm going to be like, screw y'all. I'm about to be the fastest player in the NBA and be able to play 48 minutes every night. Who knows what the limits of Luka's like game to game conditioning can actually be. We've never really seen it, but a couple years ago, he came in really in shape, but he's started like every season of his career a little slow and then gets going at some point when he gets back into shape. If he starts better for the Lakers, oh boy. So I totally buy it just because that had to be the most soul crushing, like, wait, what are you guys saying about me thing of his life.
I love Luka. He's first team all Epiphany team to me. Like every year, it's him and Zion, just all Epiphany team. Just like, this is the year I'm going to get into shape. I'm going to be best shape of my life. Oh, people around Zion are talking about how he's never been in better shape. He's cutting out red meat and all these things. Like what was the story last year? Zion just like moved to some suburb, like some crazy farm in Texas somewhere and just like got into the best shape of his life. Luka is just like that. Oh, skinny Luka. We're seeing him around shopping malls and stuff and he looks thin. It's like, whatever. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't know. I'm selling it. I'm selling it until
that is true.
I have to buy it.
Plus, like, dude, this is the time of the year when a lot of players are like, yeah, I'm going to go drink somewhere and chill out.
Right? I'm incredibly committed to conditioning this offseason, but not at night.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's also muscle watch season, right? Where you see like one Instagram post and you're like, did so-and-so put on 30 pounds of muscle? Oh my God, this is going to be crazy. And then they get to training camp. You're like, oh, I guess it was just the lighting.
They wanted to guard more positions, which makes no sense because they shouldn't be wanting to guard more positions. That happens every year. I always laugh at that one.
Buy or sell, Mike Annori is interviewing for the Knicks head coaching position. Buy or sell, Annori is a good replacement for Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, he's been described as a very creative guy, right? And I love that Finch style and staff. So, yes, they need creativity, right? I think that's been well documented on what the Knicks actually need offensively is just someone with ideas. I don't necessarily know that is the team that should be looking at a first-time head coach, but sometimes first-time head coaches have the most clever ideas. So I like the idea. I still think someone in the Mike Brown, Taylor Jenkins group could also make sense there. But yeah, this does track for what I think the Knicks should be doing.
Yeah, the Knicks obviously also don't want to hire a first-time head coach because they keep trying to hire everybody else's coaches. So yeah, they agree with you. Mike Annori is the good balance there, though, where technically he would be a first-time head coach, but has had so much responsibility in Minnesota with Chris Finch's staff. And we all remember when Finch had the leg injury a couple years ago in the playoffs, it was Mike Annori who was on the sideline as the head coach as Finch was kind of screaming out orders from the second row. He's super creative. The word on Annori out of everybody that's been around him is that he's awesome. And it feels like the kind of guy that if he were to walk into the Knicks situation and just kind of keep everything Tibbs did on defense and just and then incorporate his creative thoughts on offense, it's the sort of thing that could get the Knicks to the next level. I like this more than anybody else that they've been interviewing. I like this more than the Mike Brown idea. I like this more than the Taylor Jenkins idea, frankly. Mike Annori is coming from a team that has just been to 2 Western Conference Finals in a row, had a huge responsibility there. He can walk into New York and be like, I've been winning. I've had a huge role on a team that's been winning at a high level. You don't have to take that step back. Whereas guys like Mike Brown, guys like Taylor Jenkins, they haven't really reached that. Like Mike Brown has in his career, but it's been a while.
Whoa. Mike Brown has.
Yeah.
Jenkins is really odd because I've always thought so highly of him, and then the Grizzlies are like not ever quite as good as it seems like they should, if that makes sense. But I like
going from Memphis to New York. That feels tough.
But also, you know this, but like New York is a tough market for a first timer. It's just I think the Knicks have so far, given the people that we've heard that they've inquired about, which was funny and stupid, and also the names that have been reportedly interviewed for them that aren't presently on another team's head coaching staff, I actually think their process has been good, albeit a little bit of egg on your face. And Nori does fit that. Like, of the assistants, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. He is one of them.
That wraps up Locked On NBA. Make sure you are subscribed on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. For Tony East, I'm Wes Goldberg. Thanks for hanging out with us.